There's a river of love flowing right there at your feet. So let's quench our thirst and drink from the water so sweet.
Water. For as long as I can remember, having drinkable water at Mayer Mount has been an issue. And often, just having any water at all was a challenge. Water is a life-giving force and a necessity for survival. And because Mayer Mount is Meher Baba's place, everything has a spiritual role. Water, in all its forms, carries a special spiritual significance.
Number 69 of the 101 names of God is creator of life-giving water.
As the creator of life-giving water, Meher Baba explained this process to a young Roshan Kerawala who tells her story many years later.
You know, when Baba would look into your eyes and do the gestures, though I was a very little child, I used to understand Baba because his eyes used to speak to our hearts. He tells me, do you know how much trouble I have to take to make this water? I said, no, Baba, I don't know. And then he tells me, I have to heat 7 seas and take this water into the air and make it into clouds. I have to heat up all the rivers on the earth, take it into the air and make it into clouds. All the lakes, all the wells. It's a big job for me, you see. I said, yes, Baba. But that doesn't end there. Then I have to push those clouds and bring them down where they are needed. It's a big job for me. I give you this water to use, but never to waste.
Water is the representation of wisdom, peace, and purity. The spiritual meaning of water lies in its reflection of the human spirit and the interconnection of all creation. As a symbol of life, water represents divine generosity. Indeed, it's a personification of healing and suffering, protection and vulnerability, change and constancy, stillness and rage. Water in all its glory is considered a purifier of the soul. Water is the basis of purification in multiple religions, and many cultures use water as a sacred practice to heal inner turmoil. For instance, Hindu devotees take a holy dip in the river Ganges to purify the soul. Similarly, Islam has a daily ritual of ablution to cleanse inside and outside the body before prayers. In Christianity, the ritual of baptism through holy water symbolizes purity. Likewise, other cultures use water to cleanse the spirit and eliminate impurities from the soul.
There was a 1932 newsreel of Avatar Meher Baba drawing water from a well at Harmon-on-Hudson in New York. In this film by Paramount Pictures, Mani Irani, Meher Baba's sister and close disciple, is quoted sharing the spiritual significance of this moment.
Mani writes, as Baba has remarked many a time, even his most casual gesture had universal significance, and every simple personal action generated a universal reaction. For instance, in this short Paramount film of Baba at Harmon-on-Hudson, we see Baba drawing water from a well and drinking it. The fact that one cannot live without water means water is life. In the Sanskrit language, this is literally so. Another word for water is life, jivanam. As I see it, in this act is symbolized his giving to his lovers in the generations to follow the gift of life or love divine. And his drinking of the water is truly symbolic of his quenching the many thirsty hearts who long for him, the divine beloved.
Water is a central theme at Meyer Mount. The lack of water, the quality of water, the breaking down of the equipment related to water. When Meyer Mount was purchased in 1946, there was the canyon well that is still in use today. It is located at the bottom of a canyon, at the end of what is called the Well Road. The old canyon well did its best. It supplied enough water for some purposes, but it was never useful for cooking or drinking. The water from the canyon well is heavy with sulfur and other minerals. The sulfur causes the water to turn black and give off the smell of rotten eggs. Drinking water had to be hauled up the mountain. Agnes Barron, co-founder and caretaker from 1946, had a dream of finding sweet water. Her dream persisted through the 48 years she lived at Meyer Mount. Periodically, a water dowser or geologist would arrive to look for a source of good water. But the cost and risk of drilling a new well long seemed beyond Meyer Mount's capability. And yet, the dream of finding reliable and drinkable water remained. Agnes didn't drill a new well. She continued to pump the water from down in the canyon up to the old swimming pool and used it for toilets, sinks, irrigation, and laundry. For bathing, she would lay out a hose on the lawn to warm in the sun and use that for an outdoor shower. Agnes got her drinking and cooking water from a spring about 5 miles away. She would gather up a couple dozen more empty 1-gallon plastic milk containers, load them in her car, drive down Sulphur Mountain to the river spring along Highway 150. There was a pipe sticking out of the riverbank, and she filled the bottles with that water. In 2002, when caretakers Ray Johnston and Elizabeth Arnold arrived at Meyer Mount, the first thing they encountered were water problems.
First day that we got here, we didn't have any water. And, I'm up trying to figure out, okay, what do we do here? The pump is blown up, it was all in disarray. What are we gonna do? That was when I made a call to the board. And I said, we gotta step up the program here with the water system. I can't do this anymore. I can't put tape on it. We can't, just patch it up and go forward. We really have to do something. And that was the birth of the fundraisers for getting the water system addressed.
Weeds and Water raised funds for a multi-stage water treatment system that was installed near the swimming pool, which served as a reservoir, to pump water to the visitor center through filters and a water softener. 2 tanks were installed, one for the treated water and one for the untreated water for outside use. It wasn't, and it isn't, perfect. Over the years, subsequent caretakers continually wrestled with the system to keep it running and working. They too regularly hauled water from Ojai for cooking and personal use. The issue of water quality persisted. It was only partially solved with this complicated and temperamental water treatment system. The original swimming pool on the property acts as a reservoir for the water pumped up from the well. Periodically, the pool needs to be drained, cleaned, and then filled with clean water again. One incident that happened in Meher Baba's life feels reminiscent of this swimming pool water reservoir situation at Meyer Mount and the strong sulfur smell from the untreated water. It was 1944, and Meher Baba and some of his disciples traveled to Aurangabad, India. The women stayed in the Prem Basera bungalow.
There was a small, tank-like pond in the Prem Basera compound, but no pipeline to fill it. Men were hired to carry water from a distant well to fill the tank. They would bring it in buffalo skins, by bullock cart, and motor trolley. Margaret Krask suggested that the women be allowed to swim in the tank, and for some days they did. There was no filter, of course, and after a few days the water smelled. So Meher Baba asked Margaret to see that the water was changed. It was summertime, and Margaret had to supervise the draining of the pool and refilling it in the hot sun. It was tiring work, and at times she thought to herself, "What a bother." Later, Meher Baba asked her, "What did you have to do to fill the pool?" Margaret explained that she first took the dirty water out and then refilled the pool with fresh water. Meher Baba spelled out, "Within you is dirty water too, and I also have to take it out to make room for the fresh water of my love." Thus, in different ways, I am taking out the dirty water from everyone. I am training you so that you one day may dive deep into my ocean and obtain the treasure.
The caretakers and volunteers continued for decades to clean the reservoir pool and fix, repair, tweak the temperamental water pumping and treatment system, periodically going without water for days and even weeks. All through these water woes, there was always the dream of finding a new water source with clean, drinkable water and installing a simple, easy to use and easy to understand water system. With this dream in mind, in 2019, Meher Mount contracted with Michael Page, a dowser and geologist, to find water on the property. He brought his high-tech, MIT-made dowsing rod and his knowledge of Sulphur Mountain. He found a spot with the rod, looked at the land formation, and said, "Drill here," on a slope just north of the visitor center. The drilling for the new well at Meher Mount was scheduled for July 19, 2022. I asked Michael Grasso, owner of M-Drill, to take Meher Baba's name before he started drilling. There's a story about drilling for water that Meher Baba's close disciple Eruch Jessawala often told to pilgrims visiting India.
Naturally, there is scarcity of water at Mehrabad, and it still continues. So Adi's brother, who was the overall manager there, requested Baba, you see, every day there is that talk about the scarcity of water. Cannot something be done with it? So Baba says, well, try to find out water naturally. So he says, who will do that unless you help us? So one day Baba has the pleasure to take a round over the estate there, and the Mandali follows him, and he stops at a place and he shows the place. But why not try to dig a well over here? Well, it was a very happy thing for the Mandali to do that. Find it that Baba himself has shown the water now. They are sure to get water. So they put a big stone there, and they are very happy, and they return. Baba also returns with them. And naturally you can't go and start digging that spot, that same day or a couple of days after. You see, it takes time. So in the meantime, it so happened that the cattle grazers there, the shepherds who come there, somehow or other, the cattle or something, the stone must have rolled here and there, and the position must have changed. We don't know. But in short, when they tried to dig a well there, they dug the well under the stone, but no water was found. A couple of years passed by. All of a sudden, a man comes from a village and says, prostrates before Baba and says, Baba, I've come for your intervention. He says, what's the matter? He says, I have dug a well in my farm. To the last farthing I have spent everything, and still there is no water. I am ruined unless there is divine intervention through you. So Baba said, all right, do one thing. Just, can you not manage to get 5 feet more, go more 5 feet. So he goes with little hope in his heart and is happy that Baba has given him some guidance. No sooner the man left, sure, the man, Baba turns to Mandli and says, "What have I done? The whole thing is, I don't know how it will turn out. Suppose if he doesn't find water, what will he do?" After 2 months, it so happened one day, this man comes inside. Not only by himself, but with his wife and children and family and neighbors, and they are very happy. They bring garland and all that. The very sign of it showed that there is something. The result is good. So he prostrates before Baba, and he says that he is very grateful to Baba because of his intervention, because of divine intervention, he got water. Baba says, well, look, his faith has given him water, and he thinks that I have helped him to get water, but it's just his faith. This was heard by Adi's brother, Rustam, and he was not at all happy. He says, if a stranger can have faith in you and get water, what about us? That means that we did not have any faith and there was no water in the well. What's the sense of our living with you? So it's better that we disband and we go away from you. So Baba points out to him, he says, you fool, it's his faith that he got water. You are not living with me because of your faith in me, but I have blessed you with conviction. Suppose if he had not struck water, his faith would have wavered. He would have given out this rumor that there is a pseudo man come there calling himself Messiah or whatever you call it, the helper, the comforter of humankind, and yet nothing happened. His faith would have wavered. He would have had no faith in me. He would have even incited the public and so forth. Whereas when I pointed out to you the spot for the well and you dug it and you didn't have water, you didn't care for it because I had blessed you with conviction in me. So you are blessed because of conviction.
The day drilling for the new well was scheduled to start at Meyer Mount. Michael Grasso called me at 7 a.m. Stand by your phone, he said. We're starting to drill and I'll need to check in with you as we go to determine how deep to drill. The plan was to drill to 600 feet. If we hadn't hit water by then, we would have to determine what to do next. Continue or stop. By 2 p.m. that afternoon, they struck water. I was cautiously optimistic. There was water. It wasn't a dry hole. Within 24 hours, my heart sank. Before the walls of the new well could be stabilized, the well collapsed on itself.
The day we started drilling the well went as could be expected. We drilled to 580 feet and everything was looking good. We pulled our tooling out of the well to install the well casing, and that's when it collapsed. The geology going down, you go through different layers or strata, and some of them are really stable and they hold together as you advance through them. Some of them want to fall right back in on top of you or underneath you. In this particular case, when we removed our drill string to install the well casing, certain areas of that strata had collapsed and filled in the borehole.
That's when the project went from on budget to over budget, along with the added possibility of no water at all. Donors responded. Many of you gave a special gift to make it possible for the project to continue and for the dream to come true.
We kept going because we felt like we had a really good location, and the expense of abandoning all the time and effort we had already put into that borehole, it was probably the most challenging borehole we've ever had to complete.
Days and almost 400,000 gallons of water, pallets of bentonite and assorted bags of other eco-friendly materials to stabilize that hole. Then they re-drilled the borehole to 520 feet to reach water again. Drinkable water flowed from the well.
And it was one of the rare times in this area that the water that we were producing was not sulfurous. So that was also something that really encouraged us to kind of dig in and give it everything we had, because in this area where I've drilled a lot of wells, that was really nice to see a water quality that was better than most of them. I've done this enough in this area to know the difference between seemingly good quality water and poor quality water, and it was just refreshing and rewarding to take a sip of the fruits of the labor.
Trenches were dug, pipes were laid. Most of the old water treatment system was laid to rest. Providing water at Meyermount is now simpler, less costly, less labor intensive, and more reliable.
The rewards of being able to complete the project for an organization like this that's really going to enjoy the water quality after having poor quality water for so many years. It was a really gratifying project for us.
The dream has come true. There is clean, drinkable, reliable water for the visitors, the volunteers, and the wildlife. And Jesus said, "The water of which I speak comes from a well that will never run dry. But whosoever drinks of the water that I will give them will never thirst again. For the water that I will give them will become in them a well of water springing up to eternal life."